Your regrets are late. Chapter 7. Many people came to the Duchess's funeral. May she rest in peace in the arms of Goddess Ricina. My condolences, little Duchess. Thank you for coming, Lady Arian. I will never forget Duchess Marcetta. Thank you, Marquis Opert. It was not known whether her mother's death really brought sadness to them. A misfortune princess who lost her father and her sister to her trusted older brother. The pitiful Duchess is not loved until the moment of her death by her husband, who cannot forget his ex-fiancée. People around the world called her mother like that. All her life, this gossip followed her mother. Yekaterina Roselle Isla von Elieter. It's been a long time since Charlize said her mother's name. When she called her mother's name when she was princess, not as Duchess of Marcetta, Charlize felt everyone around her murmuring. Nevertheless, she continued to speak without worrying about it. Her mother has always felt the burden of being the Duchess of Marcetta. So, after much deliberation, Charlize decided. She already expected that it would become a rumor and make waves in the social world. But she risked everything and held her mother's funeral as a noble princess. My dear mother, may you rest in peace forever. She thought it in her mind what she wanted to say and prayed for it to reach her mother. A lilac was placed on her mother's bedside, who was sleeping comfortably with her hands clasped. It was not a flower to commemorate the death of her deceased. Lilac is my mother's favorite flower. When I look at these white flowers, I feel that I am connected with the people I miss. They look so pretty, just like mother. It was the conversation she had with her mother in a warm greenhouse garden on her birthday. The meaning of it in the flower language is a beautiful relationship. Quote. We can't spend much time together, and I can only take short walks like this, but I think the relationship between the princess and this mother is as beautiful as this flower. Mother, happy birthday. I sincerely congratulate you. Thank you for being born as my daughter and allowing me to live as your mother, princess. The relationship between mother and daughter that has been around for a long time and will never be broken was a beautiful relationship. Suddenly rain poured from the clear sky. At one time, Charlize hated the rain, which sounded like someone's mourning. It seemed to remind her once again that no one was by her side when it was raining. In contrast, her mother liked the rain. When she watches the raindrop falling one by one, it feels like something in her heart that has not been resolved is being washed away. She said that she liked the stronger sunlight that came after the rain stopped. One day, the sound of rain will not be like someone's sad tears. I hope it will be something that comforts the heart of the weary princess. It was the rain that Charlize hated so much, but it was like her mother had given her an answer. Without realizing it, Charlize ran out and reached her hand toward the sky to feel the rain. It should be cold, but the rain falling on her hands was strangely warm. It was as comfortable and warm as her mother's arms. Your Highness. Her nanny, who had followed Charlize with an umbrella, called her. Nanny, I'm sorry I couldn't do anything for you at your most difficult moment. Charlize took her nanny's hand to put the umbrella on. It's the rain that mother makes. Quote. Nanny knows what I really hated. Instead of her mother, who couldn't spend much time with her because of her illness, the nanny filled the void. Perhaps it was thanks to her nanny that Charlize could grow up like this. We met for the time when I was 9 years old. It must have been very difficult, but thank you for being patient. Your Highness. And now, I will never forget this moment when Nanny put an umbrella on me. As Charlize spoke these words, tears fell from the nanny's eyes. Her nanny, who was grieving at the Duchess's death, was crying, saying that Charlize was the one suffering the most than anyone else. Charlize recalled the day she first met her nanny. My name is Helen. I will be the princess's new nanny. This is my daughter, Martin. Martin, say your greetings to the princess. Martin Lune de Rail greetings to the princess. Quote. Princess looked a lot like Madame when she was young. Quote. Shall I tell you the story when Madame was a princess? The nanny, who quit her job to give birth to Martin, returned at her mother's request. Madame seemed to be tired. Princess. Would you like to play dolls with me? No. Then shall we go outside and walk for a while? No. I hate you. Go away. I will wait. I'm always here until Princess opens the door of your heart. You can take your time. No matter how much she asked, Charlize didn't answer. The nanny didn't avoid Charlize, who was about to hit her. She wasn't even angry. She just stood there and waited for her. Hug me. If Princess is hurting, I think I will be hurt too. If I'm hurting, why is Nanny hurting too? The nanny, caring for Charlize, who couldn't sleep because of fever, answered. Because Princess is a precious person and the only thing I can do is watch you. That's why I'm going to be hurting too. Am I a precious person to nanny? From the moment I saw Princess for the first time, I thought of you as my daughter. Although I could say you're spoiled. To me, Princess is the same as Martin. Never. Yes. I never thought I was spoiled. When she looked at her nanny's hand, it was as small as her mother's. Traces of the years she had lived until now were all over her face. Now, I will protect Nanny. Your Highness. So, will you stay with me as my nanny? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. In her previous life, as soon as her mother's funeral was held, the nanny rapidly became weak. She eventually had to leave the duchy. The nanny hugged Chairlies with all her might and answered. This is the only place I have to be. Nanny. I am even more grateful that you are growing up well. Her mother was right. Precious people weren't weakness, but they were the ones who gave us the strength to live. It wasn't until late at night that all the people who filled the mansion returned. Passing through the greenhouse garden, full of lilacs, her mother's favorite, she arrived in front of her tomb. There were many inscriptions in front of it. The second princess of Argo III and Empress Roxana. Younger sister of Crown Princess Elizabeth. Mother of Chairlies. Yekaterina Rizel Isla von Elliotter sleeps here. It was these 4 sentences that stood out in particular. It's funny. The person who died as Elliotter is buried in the Marcetta cemetery. Quote. The voice of Duke Marcetta could be heard in the distance. He didn't let her mother go in peace until the very end. My mother always felt pressure to be the Duchess of Marcetta. She never smiled comfortably at the guilt for taking someone else's place and ruining that person's life. I don't want her to be treated as your wife or Duchess. Because the Duke has always been that kind of person. Quote. Duke is not the only one who has broken up with loved ones. I warn you, don't insult my mother anymore. Your mother deceived me. She didn't say anything while looking at me for decades without knowing Seal was alive or dead. My mother was feeling sorry for the Duke that she couldn't even blame you. Duke Marcetta was always like that. He didn't look straight into reality, only thought of the damage he had suffered. As a result, he didn't consider the plight of those who suffered. Chairlies turned around, past Duke Marcetta, and headed for her room. It's spring, but it's chilly at night. Haley, who looked at Chairlies with anxious eyes, wrapped around a chunky shawl she had brought around her. Tonight, it's really cold. The night when it seemed like she couldn't fall asleep easily passed. The next evening, Chairlies asked, puzzled as she couldn't see many familiar servants, including Laurie. Haley, who was serving her, replied reluctantly with a perplexed face. In the annex, there was a shortage of workers, so Laurie and other servants were called. Who came here? And how dare they take the little Duchess's exclusive maid carelessly? The Duke's command was suddenly given, so I don't know who it is. Lillian. Suddenly, that child's name flashed through Chairlies' mind. With a restless heart, Chairlies put down the book she was reading and headed to the annex. Greetings, little Duchess. The 2 knights guarding in front bowed their heads to greet her. Open the door. The Duke commands us not to let anyone in. Since when is there a place that I, little Duchess, couldn't go? Chairlies showed a stubborn attitude that she wouldn't back down. I'm sorry. Please go inside. The hesitant knights thought for a moment and finally opened the door. You must follow the rising sun, not the setting sun, to save your life. If you disobey my orders one more time, know that there is no more chance. I dedicate this sword to the young master. They immediately knelt and offered the knight's oath. As she went inside, she saw Laurie, who was busy moving things around. Laurie, Your Highness, what brings you to the annex? Laurie looked into Chairlies' eyes and asked carefully. What are you doing here? Asked Duke Marcetta, who was coming down the stairs on behalf of Laurie, who could not speak more. As a little Duchess, there is no place I can't go to at the duchy. It's rude. You're the rude one, Your Grace. Why did you take Laurie with you? Even if there was a shortage of workers, you should have asked my permission first. I'm the head of Duke Marcetta. Since I'm the head, do I have to take your permission to borrow your servant? Duke Marcetta didn't back down. It was like having a conversation with a child who couldn't communicate. Laurie, let's go. I want to eat the sweets you baked after a long time. Your Highness. Chairlies held Laurie by her hand and tried to come out right away. She knew well that an act of recklessness embarrassed Laurie and didn't fit the little Duchess's dignity. It was because she didn't want to run into that child as she thought that child might be here right now. Chairlies. Duke Marcetta called her name out loud. She ignored his shout and continued walking. Dad. When she heard the voice of a cute and bright child, Chairlies' steps quickly stopped. She slowly turned her head and looked behind her. Hello, sister. The child's identity was Lillian. Lillian looked at Chairlies, smiling brightly with her innocent face that she knew nothing. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World. Site only. This child is your younger sister, Lillian. Snap. The words Duke Marcetta had uttered broke the reasoning she had been holding on to.